The first murder I will be highlighting happened on the day that I was born, September 29th, 1979. It occurred in the same state that I live in, Arizona. The city it took place in is Yuma, Arizona, which in 1979 was the home to just over 42,000 people. Yuma is located in the southern part of Arizona, right next to the border of California. The victim of this case was Dorothy Smock. Dorothy Smock was born Dorothy Skinkle on August 28, 1927, in Alamosa, Colorado. She graduated from Adams State College in Alamosa and earned a master's degree from the University of Michigan. Dorothy worked as a teacher all over the world in places such as Nebraska, Arizona, Oklahoma, Texas, the Philippines, and even Libya on the Air Force Base. Besides teaching school, she also composed music and wrote plays and articles. She composed an operetta in 1972 that was produced in several schools after being published. Dorothy wrote a science fiction play called Star Giant that was published in 1969, and she had an article titled Christmas Butterfly that was published in Instructor magazine. The Great Teacher magazine published her story, The Bell That Couldn't Ring, in 1970, and Christmas with the Martians in the Jack and Jill magazine. She eventually moved to Yuma, Arizona, where she taught for more than 15 years. She taught music at Alice Burns School, then became a fourth grade teacher there in 1967. She was a member of the LDS Church, past president of PEO, which is a philanthropic organization, and a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Dorothy married James Smock only 7 years before her death on June 5, 1972, in the LDS Church. They started a business, Solar Energy Systems Incorporated, the summer before her death, where Dorothy kept the books. In fact, this was the location of her death, inside their business, on Sunday, September 29th, 1979. Dorothy arrived there late in the morning to do some bookkeeping and grade some school papers. She was supposed to meet her husband at church that evening. However, when James arrived at church, his wife was not there. Mr. Smock had worked his regular shift that day for the Southern Pacific Railroad, where he was an engineer, and had already gone home to get ready for church. Since his wife was not at home or at church, James became concerned that there was an accident and called the police and the local hospital looking for her. There were no reports about Dorothy's whereabouts from either place, so James drove to their business at about 7:30 p.m., where he found Dorothy's car still parked outside. He knew something was wrong. He entered the shop, where he found her schoolwork still on the desk. He continued checking the rest of the store until he found her body in the bathroom at the back of the store. Dorothy's arms and legs were bound with duct tape, although the piece binding her wrists together had gotten loose. The tape was also neatly wrapped 6 times around her face, from below her eyes down to her chin, which suffocated the 52-year-old schoolteacher. Mr. Smock called the police, who took note of the crime scene. They did not find the business to be ransacked. However, the contents of Mrs. Smock's purse had been scattered about. Dorothy didn't keep much money on her, and her husband believed that Dorothy only had about $20 in her possession because she was supposed to get her hair done that day at the beauty salon. The salon owner said that Dorothy had canceled her appointment that day, so the $20 should still be in the purse. Police suspected robbery as a motive. However, the police report notes that Dorothy was still wearing 2 rings and a gold watch when her body was found. There was no financial benefit to anyone from her death. There was little of value in the office to steal. Her wallet was eventually found outside the store, apparently dropped by the assailant. However, her wallet still contained 7 $1 bills. "We might be dealing with a psychopath or a nut here," Police Detective Stallworth had said. "Some guy who started out to rob the place, but then got carried away and killed her." But there is at least one piece of evidence indicating that perhaps the killer didn't intend to treat her roughly. Her eyeglasses had been carefully set on the top of the toilet in the bathroom where she was found. This leads Stallworth to think that the intent was perhaps just to detain her, but that overzealous taping had killed her. The guy may have started out to rob the place, then noticed he had killed her and panicked, the detective had said. And to assume just one person is responsible could also be wrong. Stallworth theorized, why, for instance, did Mrs. Smock offer no resistance? She was not bruised, and there were no signs that there had been any kind of scuffle. Could two persons have been involved, one holding a gun on Mrs. Smock while the other taped her? I couldn't find an enemy of hers anywhere, said Police Detective Stallworth. She was civic-minded and well-liked, almost like the all-American woman. It's like an Agatha Christie. Theories abound about the manner and motive of Mrs. Smock's death. I will be highlighting a few suspicious persons from the case file that I obtained from the Yuma police. However, hundreds of people have been questioned, and this case still remains unsolved. If you have any information regarding the Dorothy Smock murder, please contact the Yuma police.